Good morning, everyone. My name's Caroline Cartwright and welcome to Apprenticeships Work, Earn and Learn. I work for a company called Hertfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership. One of my projects I do is to deliver and manage Hertfordshire Opportunities Portal. That's a great careers portal we've got in Hertfordshire, celebrating all the different careers we've got across our region. So today's event has been brought to you in partnership with Amazing Apprenticeships, iSales Academy, they're one of our brilliant apprenticeship providers, the University of Hertfordshire, who are going to talk about options at degree apprenticeship level. We've also got some great employers, MBDA and Ryall Marketing, and most importantly, we've got some brilliant apprentices with us today. So it's my job to host and moderate the session to make sure that we're all running on time. A few housekeeping. So today's event is being recorded. You guys all watching are anonymous. We can't see you, so you can only just see the speakers. The chat function is turned off, but what we really encourage lots and lots of questions, please. So there's a Q&A function and at the bottom of your screen. So if you type in your questions, you won't see them as you write them. I've got a colleague in the background, Mia, who's sorting through all the questions because we're expecting quite a lot, and she'll publish all the ones that are really good and clear. And if you want to direct your question to a certain panelist, if you just put their name first, that will be perfect. We have hundreds of you booked on today. We've got nearly 600 people who have registered. A lot of people said that they might not be able to make it, so could they have the recording? So we've got the event going live onto Hop afterwards on our YouTube channel. So we'll ping you all an email afterwards so you can see the recording and share it with your friends, please. So welcome everyone. It's National Apprenticeship Week today. So we're absolutely delighted to be showcasing apprenticeships. One of my jobs is to really celebrate all the opportunities through apprenticeships across Hertfordshire, and we have so many across so many industries. So we're really excited to talk to you about them today. The agenda, so we've got the university talking about full-time degree or degree apprenticeship, which is a real tough decision for a lot of you to make. And then they're going to talk about their degree apprenticeship programme. MBDA are coming on, who do some work with the university and some of their apprentices. Then we're going to move on to iSales Academy, and then we've got a Q&A session at the end. I'll try and fit some questions in throughout, but if not, we'll do it at the end. And then Anna Morrison, CBE from Amazing Apprenticeships, is going to finish. So I think that is everything. I think we can move on to our next speaker. So Bella, that's over to you. So I'll go on mute.
Ooh, there we go. Perfect. Thank you very, very much, Carolyn. So hello, everyone. My name is Bella, and I'm one of the Education Liaison Officers here at the University of Hertfordshire. And I'm going to quickly compare the two main routes that you can take to study for a degree, either as a full-time student or as a degree apprentice. Next slide, please. So before we get into the thick of it, let's talk about the generic benefits of getting a degree. Firstly, it can improve your employment prospects. The graduate labour market statistics released by the government for 2018 found that 87.7% of graduates were in employment compared to just 71.6% of non-graduates. Those with a degree were also found to be 3 times more likely to be in a high-skilled or professional level job. The same study also found that on average, graduates were earning £10,000 more a year than non-graduates. As well as increasing your earning potential, having a degree can help you if you decide to change careers because it is proof of your essential transferable skill set. In addition, working towards a degree allows you to specialise in a subject area that interests you. Or if you're a degree apprentice, your degree will relate strongly to your job. Next slide, please. Through the apprenticeship route, your employer will cover all tuition fees. You won't receive a maintenance loan because you'll be earning a salary instead. So any living expenses you have will need to be paid out of your salary. If you go through the full-time route, you will have all tuition fees covered by the student loans company, and there is a repayment scheme, which I will talk about later. You will also receive a maintenance loan for your living costs, so for things like accommodation, food, and socialising. With a degree apprenticeship, 80% of your time will be in work and 20% will be allocated to study. So you could spend a day a week or 2 weeks out of every 10 at university, for example. It will take you a little longer to complete a degree as an apprentice. On average, it takes between 3 to 6 years. As a full-time undergraduate student, it will take roughly between 3 to 4 years, depending if you take advantage of sandwiches by combining your degree with a year's work placement, study abroad, or sometimes even both. As a degree apprentice, it is likely that you'll be living at home, but it completely depends on the salary you're earning and what lifestyle you can afford. In some cases, your employer will cover relocation costs, and there can be the opportunity to live with other apprentices as well. As a full-time student, your maintenance loan is designed to help you with your accommodation costs, and it's likely that you'll want to live on campus, although a growing number of students choose to live at home. In your second and third year at uni, you may decide to rent a house with friends or even move back home and commute in. There are lots of options available. Next slide, please. So I'm now going to cover the basics of student finance, just so you guys are aware of how it works. A degree is designed to be affordable, and student loans are completely different to normal loans. Firstly, you need to be earning over the current threshold, which is currently £26,575 a year. Repayments are based on how much you earn over this threshold, and your debt is written off, cancelled, deleted, whichever way you want to look at it, after 30 years of you leaving university. Next slide, please. But what do the repayments look like in practice? Well, if you are earning exactly the threshold, so £26,575 a year, you pay nothing. Same as if you're earning under the threshold, your repayments won't start. But let's say you're earning over the threshold at £27,000 a year. It's a monthly repayment of roughly £3. If you get a promotion and your pay increases, your repayments will increase to reflect this. If you're earning above the threshold and then for whatever reason you drop below the threshold, repayments will stop automatically. Your repayments will reflect how much you're earning in relation to the threshold, which is worked out for you, so you don't need to do any complex calculations. Next slide, please. So which route is best for you? Only you can answer this, as it depends on what you want to get out of it. For me, I knew I wanted to go through the full-time study route, as I wanted to enjoy the university experience and put all of my effort into just studying. So the full-time route was right for me. However, my friend who now works for Apple, he knew a degree apprenticeship was right for him, as he had enough of just sitting in classrooms and full-time study and wanted to start earning. However, he also appreciated the importance of getting a degree, particularly if he wanted to change jobs or be viable for promotions in the future. So that was a quick whistle-stop talk on the two main routes. I will now hand over to Rob.
Thanks, Bella. Hi, my name's Rob Dawson. I'm the Senior Sales Manager for the Skills and Apprenticeships team at the University of Hertfordshire. And my main remit is to act as an interface between employers and the university in both promoting and supporting degree apprenticeships. Next slide, please. At the University of Hertfordshire, apprenticeships are a key part of our strategy. At present, we have 14 programs available, and these include programs in leadership management, digital data, healthcare, and engineering. As of January, we now have 800 or so apprentices on program. Next slide, please. You'll recognise some of these employers, but this is a few examples of the employers that we work with at the University of Hertfordshire, and you can see there's a good mix here of corporates, SMEs, so small, medium enterprises, and also public sector organisations. Next slide, please. I came really to try to give you some insight into what employers are looking for. As Bella mentioned, and an apprenticeship really is a job with an employer, and in order to be competitive and to put yourself forward for trying to impress an employer, you really need to start thinking about the interaction between the job and also the education that you're going to be receiving as part of your apprenticeship. Degree apprenticeships are hugely competitive. There were 81,000 starts in 2019-2020, compared to 570,000 university starts in the same time. In order to improve your chances of being considered, employers are looking for you to have experience of extracurricular activities, volunteering, Duke of Edinburgh, They also will be looking for a good solid academic profile, and therefore focusing on education is also going to be beneficial to you when applying for an apprenticeship. Work experience is something that employers will be really keen to see as well, be it a weekend job or holiday employment, because what they're looking for is really your dedication to doing a job and working for an employer. So that being able to demonstrate that you can hold down a job, however small that job may be, will be something that an employer would be really keen to see when reviewing applications. And one of the key things in my mind is employers looking for you demonstrating some sort of occupational interest. So if you're interested in getting into data and digital, then showing that you've done some development in those areas, accessing some free point of entry courses through platforms that are widely available online, would be something that an employer would give you an advantage when speaking with employers and when promoting yourself to them. Next slide, please. That's me. So I'll hand over to Amy and Pauline from one of our partner employers, MBDA.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone. So I'm Amy Candler. I am one of the HR advisors within MBDA in the Early Careers Programme, and I will be talking you through what we do at MBDA to support our apprentices. Next slide, please. So from the very start of their scheme, we have a kind of learning and development programme set up for the apprentices. So in year one, we have an induction event which runs over, including the pre-joining day, 3 days. We have recently converted this to virtual for obvious reasons, and that has then been reduced down to a day or 2. We also encourage very, very huge amount of health and safety training due to what we do as a company. And we have various programs and schemes throughout their 4 years for your apprentice. So we have a Generation Healthy Minds class, for example, which focuses on health and wellbeing. And when we have our apprentices graduate off scheme, we have a career development workshop, which focuses on their career within MBDA once they become a full-time employee. We also offer buddy systems. So when they first join the company, we set them up with a more experienced apprentice. So therefore they have somebody that is a peer that they can communicate with and support them through their journey. We also have a placement scheme where they get to experience various sectors of the business and therefore have a placement manager that will support them with this. Mentors are offered from 3 years onwards. Again, that is somebody that is a well-experienced member of the MBDA wider business, which can support them more focused on business-related topics, and a scheme support as well. We also have various kind of social events as well. We have forums which are done quarterly, and that's the opportunity for apprentices to have some more softer skills information, which is shared with other apprentices. So the apprentices present and give the information to the wider ECP community. They also have the opportunity to have external placements and secondments, and we have a digital learning space. We have actually quite a few. So the Learning Gateway offers them the opportunity to select ad hoc courses which aren't on the scheme listed above, and that can be any course that is related to their placement or required as part of their job role at the time. And we also have a couple of e-learning portals such as ULearn and Principio, where they can get variety of information, including ebooks as well. Next slide, please. So our structure of ECP, we have 3 sites. So we have our Stevenage site, Bristol and Bolton. Our apprenticeship levels start from level 3 all the way up to level 6. And we offer a variety of apprenticeships such as business, software, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and project management. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Pauline, and she will talk you through the recruitment process.
Hi everybody. MBDA, we have a recruitment team that help us with all apprenticeships. There is an application process which is initially done online, and we're talking about you in particular. We don't do CVs, we really want to find out a little bit about you, so it's an online application through there. There are also some online assessments, and we work on a strengths-based assessment process, which is looking at your core strengths rather than just academic information. There's then an internal review, so the hiring managers assess the suitability of everybody for the particular roles and using your online tests and your initial application. And following your successful interviews, you'll be able to have an offer made to you, regardless of the outcome of your assessment centre. You'd get a phone call from us to let you know how you've got on and what the next steps are. And if you're offered a position, the next step with one of those would be to do the security clearance and the medical clearance once we've got your grades as well. One of the benefits of joining MBDA is we have a pre-joining day. If you were joining in September, you'd be invited to come along to the day to meet the team and all the other new early careers members that are starting at the same time as you. Next slide, please. Apprentices at the University of Hertfordshire. We have regular contact with the university. That includes quarterly reviews with the tutors to make sure everybody's doing okay and get feedback on how the course is going and how apprentices are settling in. We also work with the university to develop programmes that suit our business needs, particularly around our particular skills that we need. And we're working also to focus on the safeguarding apprenticeships. We really value our apprentices and make sure that everybody's working safely. And it's a big thing at MBDA, everybody's health and safety, and the safeguarding is really important to us. One of the things that struck us this year is the COVID-19, and we've been particularly pleased with the way Hertfordshire have responded to that, and their online training and courses and lectures that they've done have been fabulous and much appreciated by our apprentices. Benefits to the business of why we have an ECP programme. Particularly, we're keen on growing and developing our own talent. It's a really good way for us to maintain our sustainability and succession planning. So it's a good way to get young people into the business, solid careers, and also promoting the excellence of engineering. We are mainly an engineering-based company, and it's a good way of getting youngsters into the business and working on those skills. We like the degree apprenticeships because it's a great programme to develop the core skills for the business, and also it's a wider appeal to generate a range of talent. So we do have a graduate programme as well, but also the apprenticeship programme is a really good way for us to attract new talent to the business. We're also utilising our government levy programme, so we're using funding from that to help pay for apprenticeship programmes. And again, it's something that's really valuable to the business and seen very important to the business as a whole. And I'll hand back now to Hannah.
So, hello, good morning all. You've heard a little bit about working the apprenticeship scheme at MBDA. So kind of looking to do a view of the apprenticeship scheme from an apprentice. So a little bit about me. I'm Marcus Fenlon. I'm currently studying a business management degree apprenticeship with MBDA. I've been doing the course since September 2018, so on my third year of a 4-year degree program, which would be a 3-year course at university. As was mentioned earlier, it's a slightly longer doing it through the apprenticeship scheme, but there's good reason for that. So why should you look at doing an apprenticeship as opposed to going to university or going straight into work? From my point of view, it is a really, really incredible opportunity for skills development. You're going to be exposed to sort of the real world from the start. You are going to be, if you start an apprenticeship, working on genuinely important projects for the company that you work for. So yeah, it is a real job. And okay, you are an apprentice. You'll be guided into the role slowly, and as you develop your skill set, you'll be able to take on more and more responsibility within your role, and develop your skills and learning from there. You're also going to be able to work with a lot of different people from different ages, different backgrounds, it's usually a really diverse working environment, both in work and in university. So it's another great opportunity to boost your skills. Significantly, you get paid. Let's not dance around that topic. That's pretty good. No student debts. You're earning a full-time wage the entire time you're in university. So if you want to start saving up for a house, for a car, you're not having to repay things. That's a big selling point. I think it's a fantastic leg up as well. Okay, it takes 1 year more than a university course would do, but by the end of your 4 years, you've still got your degree, and you have 4 years of work experience in your field with your company. You'll know your role very well, and you'll have a place with the company where you've been to carry on your role once you graduate and move into a full-time employee. In terms of the structure, now this section is going to be a little bit MBDA specific. I know some other apprenticeships do it differently, but there is often similar schemes to this. At MBDA, the importance is seeing multiple areas of the company. So it's a 4-year structure. And so as a business apprentice, you will do a series of placements between 6 and 9 months across almost every business area. So commercial teams, sales, component procurement. We are an engineering company. Do you need to buy in material, business management, that sort of thing. So you do get a really wide range of views across the work, which is good because it lets you learn how business works, and it gives you a real world feel, but it also lets you work out what interests you in the real world. There's been a lot of placements I've been into that I've gone, this is actually fascinating. I'd like to see more of this in the future. And it lets you plan your career, and it lets you experience the company. So I think that's a serious benefit to doing it. In terms of the major challenges, I'm not going to claim otherwise. Doing an apprenticeship can be hard work. It is a lot of work. You are doing a full-time job, and you've got almost a full-time degree program at the same time. So at MBDA, 4 days a week at work, 1 day a week at university. You need to be able to balance work and study. And I know it's especially difficult in current climate, working from home. There's a blurring of lines. Work, MBDA certainly really good about ensuring you have time for study days, days off for university, extra study days for exam revision and assignments, but you've got to be able to manage that yourself. Just making people aware. A key benefit is the chartered management. So working through the university, you can work towards chartered status as a manager, which is a fantastic asset to have in your CV, in your portfolio, and it's great going forward, and it's a really good learning experience to pick up leadership skills and management abilities. There is a lot of support available, significantly. Both the company and the university are seriously good about providing support in everything you need, in time, in resources, in knowledge and guidance. They want you to succeed, and they are aware that you want to succeed, and they're going to help you as much as possible with that. Challenges. There are always going to be challenges, and beyond work-life balance, there are difficult aspects. Significantly, first up, it's a very sought-after placement. I mean, you saw the numbers earlier with the apprenticeship versus university access numbers. It's known throughout the UK, people relocate significant distance to come to MBDA to do the apprenticeship. So there's going to be competition for the places. So bring your A game, as it were. You're almost expected to mature quite quickly because you'll be working with fairly senior people, but everybody makes mistakes, and it is a learning experience. A challenge that people don't bring up, actually, working with the full-time university students can be a challenge because they don't understand the difference between the apprentice life and the student life. So, if you have a group project, make sure everyone's on the same page, or they're going to start scheduling meetings for Tuesday afternoons, and you're going to be in a work meeting, and you're not going to be able to do group presentations. So a little challenge that no one told me about before I started. But significantly, the good parts, it's incredible. Development, learning, improvement, it is a fantastic opportunity. You're going to learn and develop much faster than most other people from just the exposure to the real world. And at companies with a good apprenticeship history, like MBDA, certainly, there's always somebody to ask for advice. There's more senior apprentices, there's buddy systems. It's a great way to build your confidence and set yourself up for the future, financially, as well as in career and development. So personally, from my point of view, I think the apprenticeship is a fantastic opportunity, and I believe I'm handing over to Lisa now.
Right, not quite Lisa yet. Thanks, Marcus. So thanks. We've had Rob, Bella, Annabelle, Amy, Pauline and Marcus. Thank you very much for your presentations. We've got a couple of minutes actually before we bring in iSales. So we've had a couple of questions that have come in actually, so it might be quite good to ask some of them now whilst you're all there. So we've had one question come in that says, how long after getting your degree in apprenticeship are you locked to working with that company?
Yeah, I mean, just to be the money that's been invested is money that the organisations have already paid out via, in essence, what is a taxation, and because of that, there is no recourse for the employer to be able to hold on to that funding, because the government's given it back to upskill somebody through an apprenticeship. So actually, the organisations can't hold on to somebody that's done an apprenticeship. Through and the funding rules are very clear about that. If there are local arrangements for other things that have been funded which fall outside the remit of the apprenticeship levy, then there could be some recourse to an employer putting those ties in. But in essence, the money doesn't belong to the organisations; it belongs to central government, and they're being allowed to use it to upskill their workforce and to recruit or retrain new and existing people.
Okay, yeah, I think in essence, as an apprentice, you've got a contract of employment like every other employee. So yeah, so but each organisation is different. Got a quick question here, which Marcus might be good to answer. So you want to prepare yourself and come off mute, Marcus. What is involved in exams and assignments? Come on, how hard is it?
It depends. It depends on the module. Now we have shifted to be much more assignment based now that we're working away from campus, as it were. Usually the business management is certainly heavily assignment based. It's a lot of essays. It's a lot of structural academic writing, which is a good skill to learn and one I needed to learn. So generally it's done on, most of the modules are done purely on coursework. So whether that works for you or not, it's a personal taste. But, yeah.
So I can answer that question as well, because I'm actually doing my apprenticeship as well, because apprenticeships are professional qualifications and you can use them at any point in your career to retrain. So I'm doing mine at the moment in careers. So everything I do, which is what I love about apprenticeships, is all to do with the work you're doing. So you'll submit a assignment, but you're always rating it back to your work and your job role. So I can answer that one. I've got one more question before we move on to the next slot, which is probably for the university to answer. But a couple of questions about the types of apprenticeships on construction apprenticeships and creative apprenticeships. I don't know if the university focused on those areas, but can you just give a quick overview of how you go and find those apprenticeships in the sector you've chosen?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Rob,
so construction, it's the same for both really. Have a look at, and Anna might be able to later. Amazing Apprenticeships is a really good place to look for opportunities for apprenticeships, as well as find an apprenticeship. The government website and not going to university or not going to uni is another website which advertise apprenticeships. But there is an apprenticeship for pretty much everything you can possibly imagine. So what I would encourage you to do if you're interested in those things is to do a little bit more investigation, to look at, if let's take that construction question and the breadth of the word builder for me opens up a lot of opportunities, because it is a very wide space. But look at organisations that are in construction or in the built environment. Most of those have well-established apprenticeship routes because apprenticeships in construction and the built environment go back a long time. Unlike some of the more recent apprenticeships in leadership and management, for instance. So I think if you looked at a level 3 qualification straight from school, that would then allow you to access a level 4 apprenticeship in construction, you could progress all the way through to a program that we offer with the university campus, St Albans, a collaboration between Oaklands and ourselves as university, in construction site management, which is a level 6 qualification, a full degree award. So there is a pathway of progression from GCSEs all the way through to a degree in construction as well. But I think we're about 500 different apprenticeship standards now. So there'll be something for everyone, and it will just be really about how specific, what area was of most interest to you.
Yeah, quick question here for you or Bella. Can you stay on campus if you do the apprenticeship programme?
No, we don't have any campus-based students, and it's something we just need to differentiate. There are many benefits, as Marcus has pointed out, to being an apprentice. You don't actually get the same benefits afforded to you if you're a full-time student, so you're not earning money, and you're also paying for your degree. So I think it's a more level playing field if we didn't have apprentices on site. But most organisations will be located quite centrally, and you'll be able to live close to them if you did have to move. So you wouldn't be based on campus with us.
Yeah.
If I can. Sorry,
yeah,
if I can just build on that, certainly at MBDA, there is a network within it that says if you're moving into the area. So I moved from North Yorkshire down to Stevenage, so I needed to find accommodation, and there is a network certainly at MBDA that will help you find somewhere to live, a room to rent or something like that. So varies from company to company, but there's options out there for living where you want to live, actually, rather than just
if you need to relocate, there's help on hand.
Yeah.
Just whilst I've got you, Marcus, quickly, I've got a question here. Can you use the money you earn from an apprenticeship to rent a small studio flat during the degree? Or more broadly, what do you use that money for that you're earning and not spending doing a full-time degree?
So that's a very good question. Yeah, you absolutely could rent a flat because the money is your money. At the end of the day, it's a monthly paycheck. You can spend it on what you'd like, whether you want to invest it, save it, or in my case, spend a lot of money on fast cars, which is not a sensible financial decision. I am going to tell you that now. Don't do that. But you are an adult, and you can put your money where you would like to put it.
Brilliant. Okay, that was brilliant first session then. There's so many questions coming in, but what we'll do, we'll pause on the questions and we'll hand over to our next speakers. So Lisa Clark is coming on next. She's the Managing Director of iSales Academy. I've known Lisa for many years. Before she started a business, she ran an won many awards, her apprenticeship programs in the business she worked in, Freedom Communications. So she's absolute font of all knowledge. So Lisa has got an employer with her and also some apprentices, and you're going to be talking, Lisa, about the advanced and higher level apprenticeship programs, I believe. So Lisa, are you there?
I am there. Thank you very much, Caroline. So yes, I'm Lisa Clark from iSales Academy. We are a specialist apprenticeship training provider, and we cover the whole of Hertfordshire and surrounding areas. And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about a range of different opportunities for apprenticeships from level 2 to level 4. And as Caroline said, I'd like to introduce some of our apprentices who will share their stories with you too. So first of all, hopefully this table will help in terms of more clearly explaining the difference of levels of apprenticeships and to compare them with educational levels, which I'm sure most of you will be more familiar with. It's important to note that employers will need staff at all levels, and some job roles simply require that apprenticeship courses start at a lower level as well. So I always suggest that young people start with their career goals in mind and then look for opportunities and look for apprenticeship programs that will help them achieve those goals. So starting with a degree apprenticeship might not be right for everyone, but it certainly will be a fantastic opportunity for some, as Marcus just explained. Of course, you can always work your way up, so you can start at a lower level, and as your career progresses, you can complete another apprenticeship standard and even work your way up to a degree apprenticeship at a later date. I know myself personally, I did my first degree when I was 27, considered very much a mature student, and I needed it at that particular time in order to progress myself to the next stage of my career. So you can kind of dip in and out of apprenticeships and complete a degree at any point really in your career. Next slide, please. So just to frame what iSales do, we deliver only level 3 and level 4 apprenticeships, and that's simply because that's where our specialisms lie. There's plenty of other training providers and colleges and universities that deliver across all levels and offer a range of different role types. At iSales, we're passionate about encouraging young people to think differently about all the different possible career routes that are available. For example, as you can see from our list there, we offer sales apprenticeships, and sometimes these are not even promoted. They could be potentially one of the highest paid jobs out there if you're successful. And now you can actually go on and do a degree apprenticeship in sales, potentially at a later date to aid your career progression. Next slide, please. So there's so many different routes, and I think Rob touched on this earlier. So in terms of apprenticeship routes, this is the full listing, but of course there's lots of different options that sit behind these different routes. So next slide, please. So as I said, there's over 700 different apprenticeship standards available. The key things to know is that as a minimum, you would need GCSE in English and Maths at grade 4 or above, or indeed you need to be prepared to redo those alongside your apprenticeship if necessary. And of course, some courses do require much higher qualifications. I'm sure that some of the degree ones are looking for A-levels. So it's really important to know, as you would if you were looking at university application, that you understand what's required for each of those apprenticeship roles. So please don't be fooled, first of all, that that an apprenticeship is an easy option, and it certainly shouldn't be seen as a backup plan because early application may well be necessary. So what we've got here is really a very important place to start your research, and it's a great resource if you don't know what you want to do, or maybe you don't know what's available in terms of all of those 700 options. So what you can do here is you can search by the route, or indeed you can search by a keyword. And, I would advise you not to stop there. Once you've found a standard or a list of courses that are of interest to you, then click further on. You might be able to find companies that are part of the Trailblazer, and they might be the sorts of organizations that offer those apprenticeships. So you can look at their websites, you can find out which training providers deliver those apprenticeships, and you can speak to those as well. So I guess the key word here is really it's about being as proactive as possible, as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So when you're thinking about the type of apprenticeship, bear in mind that that means that you'll be going into the workplace. Here's just a few tips really in terms of thinking about the sorts of things that you might want to consider. Do you want to work for a large corporate organization, a small business, a family business? Do you want to commute to work? Do you want to work locally? Have you thought about home working? Because lots of organisations, as a result of COVID-19, are shifting more towards a flexible work environment. So some organisations may require, even beyond the pandemic, that you work at home for some of the time. Think about the sort of team. Do you want to specialise or be a generalist? And the company culture is important as well, in terms of what it's going to be like, how do they expect you to behave, and so on. So just a few things to think about, but most importantly, make sure that your decision is steering you towards your ultimate goals. Next slide, please. So I'm going to reflect what Rob said earlier. Work experience is so important in terms of helping you with your next step, whatever that may be. Try and get some work experience or some volunteering so that you can put it on your CV or your application. As mentioned already, if you can do so in your chosen career, in your chosen industry, that's going to help even more. So it gives you lots of different options. It gives you new skills. It helps you to update your goals. You know what to expect when you enter the workplace, and ultimately work experience will help you towards achieving your longer term goals and ambitions. It's so important. Next slide, please. So, as I think we've mentioned so far, there's many pathways to your long-term success. And the first thing that I wanted to say is please don't panic. If you're not 100% sure what you want to do, whether it's work, apprenticeship or university, you are definitely not alone in that thought. So do as much research as you can. There's loads of information available out there. If you do know, if you're fortunate enough to know exactly what you want to do as a career, then really focus on that chosen destination and then start to consider what all possible options there are available to help you achieve that goal. Choose the best starting place, and you may well wish to apply for university, degree apprenticeships and apprenticeships at the same time, so that you're not kind of narrowing your options too quickly. And just remember that you can complete an apprenticeship or a degree at any stage in your career. So I just at this stage like to hand you over to Simon and Chloe. They're two apprentices with iSales Academy, because I think it'd be really useful to hear them tell their stories. So over to you, Simon, first of all.
Hi, everyone. As Lisa has just said, my name is Simon and I am with iSales Academy on a level 4 sales executive apprenticeship. It says on the slide job title. My job title is a marketing executive. I work at a marketing company and therefore I'm involved in a lot of the marketing output that we produce for clients. I took my A-levels and I got 3 A stars in them, but I decided that I didn't want to go to university and I wanted to take an apprenticeship. And what I'm just going to be talking about here is why I made that decision, how I came to it, and all the different things that I considered. So just kind of building on top of what Lisa has just said there. Next slide, please. So my career path so far, I'm currently 19 years old, and therefore I am just nearing towards the end of my apprenticeship. But in terms of how I got here, I went to sixth form when I was 16 years old at the secondary school that I attended. That was all very simple, but during year 12, my school had an initiative where all attendees to sixth form did a 2-day work experience process at a local company. I went to a local marketing company, which was in the same village where I live in Rickmansworth, and it went really well. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it, and I knew that that was something I wanted to get involved with. So even while I was taking my A-levels, that was always an option that I had in the back of my mind. I then took my A-level exams in history, business studies, and English literature. And as I mentioned, I got an A star in all 3 of those. But despite that, I still was not particularly keen on going to university, the reasons for which I'll talk about in a bit. And therefore, I went back to Ryall Marketing, the company where I did my work experience with, and I said, hey guys, me again, can I have a job? The situation with a lot of companies, and some of you may encounter this, is that sometimes, especially small local companies like Ryall Marketing, it may be easier for them to hire you on an apprenticeship than as an actual full-time employee. Because when you're hired as an apprenticeship, it provides certain financial benefits to the company. They get a bit of, they get a grant, so an amount of money from the government, for example, and that really helps kind of lift the weight off them, especially if they are a small company. Kind of relating to what Lisa was just talking about, I knew I did want to work for a small company, so I could kind of get more time on the job rather than being lost in a system, so to speak. So therefore, that was why I took the opportunity to work for Ryall Marketing. And it just so happened that doing the apprenticeship course was what was financially preferable for them. Next slide, please. So the reasons I chose an apprenticeship, there are a lot of common, obvious reasons for why one chooses an apprenticeship, but I think that there are other stuff to be considered that perhaps aren't so commonly talked about. There are more factors than just 1 or 2. So the obvious stuff, I didn't want student debt. Not really much more to say about that, really. Finance is an important thing, especially with how things are going at the moment. So therefore, I knew at the given time that I wanted to build up a bit of money and provide myself with a financial cushion. And I felt as though taking on a university degree would be detrimental to that. No living and accommodation costs. Because the reality is when you go to university, you're not just paying £9,000 for the degree, you're also paying for the flat that you're living in, you're paying for the food that you buy every day, you're paying for the pay the repairs that are going on to your accommodation, etc., etc. So the cost is actually substantially more than it's initially described to be, and therefore I knew that I didn't want to be getting involved with those living costs either. So again, there was also a financial motivation behind that as well. Similarly, I get paid every month, as Marcus talked about earlier. For me personally, that means I can save up earlier for a flat. For Marcus, that means he can save up for a car. For anyone, it means they can save up for anything they want. But the real emphasis I want to put on there is the financial cushion. Now, for me, I've always known for a few years that I want to start my own business and get things going as a bit of an entrepreneurial kind of in an entrepreneurial way. And for me, I knew that going to university wouldn't enable me the financial cushion to do that, whereas getting a job and getting paid every month would. So that was the logic behind that. So whatever you want to save up for, it provides an opportunity to do that. Real world experience as well. You often hear the catch-22 of, well, you can't get a job if you don't have experience, but then you can't get experience if you don't get a job. That was kind of how I felt. So I wanted to get a bit of education in sales, which was why I took the apprenticeship, but then equally, I also wanted to get into the workplace. So for me, it provided the best of both worlds. Another thing to think about, and this is individual to each person, is does your dream job require a degree? Now, I'm going to be honest with you, if I wanted to be a brain surgeon, then of course I would have gone to university. It just so happened that I wanted to work in marketing. And a lot of marketing companies aren't that keen on getting people who work for degrees because a lot of the courses are on outdated theories from 10 years ago and therefore not applicable to the workplace. So for me, I wanted to work in marketing. Marketing doesn't require a degree. It seemed like 4 years that were just unnecessary for me to take in terms of going to university. Another thing to consider, and I'm going to expand on this a little bit in the next slide, is that there's no time limit on when you can go to university. And I think that that's a really important thing to remember. And I'll talk about that a bit in the next slide. Personally, I was bored of school. Anyone here who has taken their GCSEs or has taken their A-levels can absolutely testify. It is exhausting. It is a really, really tiring process. And I took my A-levels and I did very well. But by the time I got my results, I was absolutely knackered and I could not be bothered to do any more studying or going to university because I felt as though I'd reached the bar that I was going to get to. I'd hit my ceiling, and that any more was just going to be a waste of time because I'd fulfilled myself and achieved everything I wanted to achieve. And finally, on the social aspect, you can still visit friends at university. So it's not as if you never are going to set foot in a university. You're never going to get that university nightlife experience. A lot of your friends are going to go to a university down the road. And that means you can jump in the car and be there within 20 minutes. And that's a really nice bonus as well from a social point of view. Next slide, please. So I think this is the final slide that I'm going to be talking to you about today. And it's just a few questions to ask yourself in terms of should you take an apprenticeship? Should you go to university? The main one being the one I've just said before, does your dream job require a degree? If it does, you need to go to university. If it doesn't, maybe look elsewhere. Secondly, what is your home life like? And this is an important thing. A lot of people perhaps don't want to go to university, but they choose to because they haven't got a very good home life. Their parents don't treat them particularly well, however you want to word it. But I think that that's an underrated question. And perhaps you need to ask yourself, if you do have a difficult home life, maybe it's worth going to university just so that you can get away from your home, so you can discover yourself a bit, provide a bit of mental clarity and all that good stuff. So I think that's also something worth considering that isn't perhaps mentioned so much. The third one is, again, linking to something I said on the previous slide. Will you regret not going to university? And the really important part of this question are those final two words. I'm not asking, will you regret not going to university? I'm asking, will you regret not going to university right now at this exact moment? And those are two very different things, because there's no time limit on when you go to university. If I wake up in 10 years' time and decide that I want to take a course in whatever, I can do that and nothing's stopping me. So the question is, right now, where you are in your life, in the mental headspace that you've got going on, is that something you want to be doing? And that's something worth considering as well. Fourth, are there any companies near you with an apprenticeship quota? This requires a bit of research on your part. I can't answer this for you. No one here can answer this for you. Only you can find this out. A lot of companies, especially large corporates, they have a quota, which means that they have to accept a certain number of apprentices each year. That's how they are governed. Either it's demanded by the board or it's demanded by the government. Either way, there is a quota that they have to fulfill. Now, that provides a really good opportunity for you, because if it's a company that you want to work for, you can get your foot in the door and you know that this company are contractually obliged to take you on. And that's an interesting turn of events, because it can provide you with a really good opportunity to get your foot in the door there. Fifth question is, what is your sporting situation? What's going on in sports? The reason I mention this is because at the time I was choosing whether or not to go to university, one of my friends chose not to go to university because of what was happening for him in terms of sport. He was playing for a football club that were paying him to be there, a semi-professional football club, and he was getting paid a few £100s a month. And therefore, by going to university, he wasn't going to be getting paid that money anymore. So for him, he wasn't just taking on the debt of going to university, but he was also going to be losing the money that he was getting from his sports team. So in that case, that's an additional financial reason going on. Now, if you do care about sport, if you're passionate about whatever sport you do and you want to get to a higher level, then university may provide a bit of a barrier to you doing that, because it's going to reduce the amount of time you spend practicing, perhaps reduce the amount of money you're getting paid. So that's also worth considering, which again, I don't think is mentioned that much. Are you able to visit your friends at their universities? 99% of the time, the answer is yes, especially if you live in a city. You can get a train, get a bus to another city, etc. So again, I think there are lots of opportunities there. So if you're worried about not getting the university experience, then that can help you out a bit. And finally, the very obvious question, do you want to study for another 3 years? Only you can answer that. I cannot. It just depends what headspace you're in. Personally, I was pretty exhausted. A-levels tired me out and I didn't want to carry on studying anymore. So I called it quits. I'm very happy I've made that decision. I'm happier now than I've ever been, but different people have different circumstances and you've just got to react to that. That's everything from me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Simon. We'll just hand over to Chloe, if that's okay, Chloe.
Yes, hello everybody. Following on from what Simon said, I work alongside him at Ryall Marketing, a small agency in Watford doing marketing. So I just wanted to run you through my career journey really from start to finish. I'm 25 years old now, so as you can see from this slide, I have done 2 apprenticeships. The first one was when I was leaving sixth form, and I'm not ashamed to say that I really had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. Based on just school, and you know, I enjoyed certain lessons, there were bits that I didn't like, but it really didn't spark any kind of definite what career path I wanted to take. So I thought, okay, let's not go to university and get into debt. I knew that I didn't really want to do that anyway, but I thought an apprenticeship was a great way to earn money and get good life experience and work experience, but I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do one in, and I thought, can't be too specific, and where do I take this? That's why I chose a business administration and communications apprenticeship. It kind of gave me a first foot into how businesses work. So I got this apprenticeship with Ryall Marketing. It could have been with any company. So I could have been working in construction or creative design or anything, but it was with Ryall Marketing. And it really it opened my eyes into how a company operates. I did things like invoicing and booking up events, sitting in on meetings. So I got a real good taste of every kind of aspect of a business and got to kind of decide from that, okay, I've had some great experience. Which bits did I like? Which bits didn't I like? And, you know, what's the next step? What do I want to do next? So I graduated from my first apprenticeship and actually was offered a full-time position at the marketing agency, Ryall Marketing. And I was able to continue this to be able to then move on to a marketing junior. Being a marketing junior then gave me the chance to decide how much I really enjoyed marketing and really get an insight into what marketing was and how I could progress in that kind of career path. The way of the world started to change and digital became a lot more of a thing that was done. So I took on the social media aspect of the business and I started to basically look after everything social media for everybody. I was doing things like looking after specific clients. So I was account managing and going to meetings and creating networking events that I was talking at. So I really was able to take that next step in my career and push myself in a marketing role. But I wanted to push myself further. And, you know, I was 24 at this age. I'd been at the company for 5 years or so. And I thought, what is the next step? Do I leave the company and go somewhere else? I really didn't want to, but I wasn't sure. Do I go off to university? But I got talking to Lisa from iSales, and she really opened my mind and showed me that, you know, I may have already done an apprenticeship, but it doesn't mean that I can't do another one. It doesn't mean that I can't take it that step further and go a little bit more and learn something extra. So we decided to go with the sales executive course, which is an exciting and really great informative course where it's allowed me to push the boundaries. It's allowed me to work with clients a lot more and extend my role into how to sell yourself and sell your business. So now I've recently actually passed this apprenticeship as well back in September, and I have stayed on at Ryall Marketing, so I've been here for almost 7 years now, which is quite a long time, and I never expected to leave school and 7 years later be still loving my job at the same place. But it just goes to show that you can be at the same company for a very long time, but you can progress very, very, very much. I've done 2 qualifications and I've had 6 job roles, continuously extending what I'm doing and how I'm performing. So apprenticeships are a great stepping stone through your career, and they really have taken me over 7 years from an administrative apprentice to a digital marketing executive with 5 key accounts in our company. So I really couldn't speak wonders of them anymore. So thank you to Lisa, and thank you to everybody for listening. And if anyone has questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks very much, Chloe, and to Simon for sharing your stories. Some really good insights there. Just to add that Chloe is a case study for the East of England class of 2020 apprenticeship. So feel free to look at her more detailed story. We'll give you some further insights. I just have a few slides to wrap up. I realise we're slightly behind on time, so next slide, please. So in summary, you know, the first place to start is to maybe look at the Find an Apprenticeship website. You can look for different courses. This is a government.uk website, so please have a good look around that site. Next slide, please. But don't stop there. There's lots of other resources. The top 100 apprenticeship employers is a really great place to get started, because they're employers that do lots of apprenticeships. They've got lots of great structure in place, and obviously they've been awarded for the programs that they deliver. Websites, career fairs, job sites such as Indeed, not just Indeed, there's loads of them. And of course, the Hop into Hertfordshire portal, which I think will be mentioned again at the end as another fantastic resource. Next slide, please. So it's really important. Sorry, could you click through there? I think something's not, it's not, oh no, there's something missing. Never mind. In terms of standing out from the crowd, just to remind you, the most important thing is get some work experience, do some volunteering, do your homework, do your research to find out what's out there before you make your decision. You know, make sure that you get a family member or teacher to look at your CV or application process to make sure it's the best it can be. And always show energy and enthusiasm for the role and the company that you're applying to. Final tip from me is always think about why the organisation might choose you, and try and think of at least 3 good reasons why they should choose you, and to ensure that you stand out from the crowd. So that's the end from me. Do follow us on Instagram, check out our website, and just remember, whatever pathway you choose, hard work and determination will definitely lead to great results. Thank you, and back to Caroline.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Chloe, and thank you, Simon. That was just really inspiring to hear from the apprentices there. We've got some questions that have come in. So one of the questions, I think, Lisa, actually, you might be best place to answer this one. This is going back to GCSEs and A-levels. We've had a couple of questions that have come in about your results, and also if I haven't studied that subject, so for example technology, I haven't done computer science, is that the end of the road for me? Can I do an apprenticeship? So as you probably do all the interviewing, I expect, along with the employer, the grade you've got, and if you haven't done the subject, what does that mean for you in terms of pursuing that apprenticeship?
So first of all, you know, every apprenticeship has, and every company have their own entry criteria, so you do need to check that out. But generally speaking, it is really important that ideally you have grade 4 or, you know, or C or above in English and maths. That's an absolute requirement. As I said earlier, you can retake that as part of your apprenticeship. It needs to be completed before you complete. But yes, generally speaking, you don't need to, for example, to have studied, you know, let's think of a good example. So for the sales apprenticeships or the marketing apprenticeships, you don't necessarily need to have done business studies. As long as you've got those, you know, good English and math skills, then lots of organisations will take you on board. But as I said, unfortunately, it does vary by the organisation. So you'd need to check that out.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of questions here. Was actually one about the amount of vacancies there are available. Obviously, we're going through the pandemic at the moment, and apprenticeships have taken a hit. However, I do think from May, June onwards, there's going to be a sort of a huge recruitment drive. So we are really expecting our apprenticeship vacancies to really start ramping. Simon, am I right? I'm going to pop you back on now. Yep. Am I right in thinking that you didn't apply for an apprenticeship, you went back to Ryall because you had a work experience there and then said to them, I want to do my qualification? So is that an option as well? You don't have to apply for a vacancy. You can go to an organisation and say, can I work for you and can I do my qualification?
Yes,
right?
Ryall Marketing weren't planning on bringing on an apprenticeship originally. They only chose to do that when I came to them and said I wanted a job. And in that sense, it becomes about what Lisa's talking about why would this employer hire you? Now, in this case, I'd worked at the company for 2 days, so they knew that I was not stupid, and therefore they thought that it was worthwhile bringing me on. So yes, if you find the right match, if it's a company that really likes you, then sometimes they will let you do a qualification as an apprenticeship, even if they weren't originally considering it.
Yeah, I think that's really important, actually, really encouraging. So apply for jobs, apply for vacancies, and you can ask that employer, will you support me to do my apprenticeship? So there's sort of 2 ways in. So you can search for all apprentices through the Find an Apprenticeship service, but approach employers as well. So a couple of other questions here. Can you do apprenticeships and A-levels at the same time? That could be a Lisa question.
I don't think so is the answer to that, as far as I'm aware. Yes, you're funded by one route or the other.
Yeah, well, you're fully employed as an apprentice, so if you want to do A-levels, you're gonna have to do them in the evening, because I guess anyone can do A-levels at college, can't they? But yeah, so yeah, you're a full-time employee as an apprentice, so doing both would be a challenge. Just a couple more questions. I was going to, this is an interesting one actually. One actually that MBDA may be able to answer. Do companies have quotas for inclusion, like female, for example, or people with disabilities? Small businesses might not, but MBDA still on the line. Do you have quotas in terms of your apprenticeship programme and the places you're filling? Are they still there?
Yeah, we're still here. I believe we do. A lot of organisations are very keen to obviously ensure that there's a great equality level within their company. For MBDA, especially when it comes to engineering, we do try to ensure that balance of especially gender is quite even, because we feel that, you know, having a diverse culture means that we get to include a huge pool of talent. So in all fairness, it benefits our organisation greatly.
Yeah. I think MBDA have won awards, haven't you, for the work you do with females and supporting to engineering. I'm sure I read that.
Yeah, we have. We've got a lot
of
women in engineering awards.
So we've got 5 minutes left just before we bring Anna on, just to close. I'm just going to put the apprentices in the spotlight, all 3 of you. So what is it that you think's made you stand out from the crowd? What had you done? Because it's very competitive to get an apprenticeship. What personally did you do to make your CV stand out from the crowd in the interview? So Chloe, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think it's probably the extracurricular stuff that I did. I enjoyed school, but I didn't do as well as, say, Simon with his 3 A stars. Well done, Simon. So it was kind of the other bits. I did a lot of volunteering work. I did a lot of weekend stuff, extra courses online, that kind of thing. So, you've got a lot of time on your hands in the evenings. I know, especially with COVID, everyone's locked down. There's not much else to do. So if you do have some time, have a look on the line, see what could be beneficial. It doesn't have to be specific to a course either. It can be very generic. So just broaden your knowledge and really kind of get that extracurricular stuff that means that you're not, if you don't do as well as you hope in your A-levels, as a lot of people don't, or something goes wrong, then you have other things to support you and kind of push forward your CV and show why you should be chosen for a position.
Brilliant. And Simon?
Well, I think it was a couple of things. It's not particularly common for someone to do an apprenticeship or look for a job after getting the grades I did. So I think in that sense, it shows a bit of initiative, which is what companies want, because they want someone who's able to stand on their own 2 feet and make their own decisions and take responsibility for those decisions, etc. And I think that was helpful. But I think it's also important to identify a need. And because I worked at the company for 2 days as work experience, I saw that a lot of the work coming into the company was writing tasks, otherwise known as copywriting, and that they didn't have a copywriter. So therefore, when I went there to apply for a job, I said to them, I think you could benefit from a copywriter, and that's what I want to do. So if you can actually know the business on a personal level, whereby you can actually identify gaps in what it is that they're doing, then that's helpful for sure.
Right, really interesting. And Marcus, finally.
I'd like to build on both those points, because I think two really good points have been brought up. Firstly, what sets you apart in your career and what you can bring to the team, because the company is looking to benefit from you as well. Now, I'm doing a business apprenticeship, but I have a background in engineering. Before I joined the company, I worked as an electronic warfare engineer, and I worked as a systems engineer for another pair of high-end engineering companies. So I was able to bring that engineering experience into the business field, and I think that does set you apart. So as much as you want to work within your field, what can you bring from outside that bolsters your knowledge? So I think with the point of looking at the company, what does the company need? I think that's a really good idea. And to build on developing your portfolio, that's absolutely vital. From my point of view, that's the best thing you can do, is be an interesting person, because the people who are going to be applying and in competition with you are going to be doing similar A-levels and similar qualifications. So if you can, what makes you different? What do you do in your spare time? I went into my interview with I brought along a little folder of projects I'd done. And we got about 5 minutes in, and the interviewer discovered that I'd built a hovercraft in my spare time. And that was it. That was all we talked about for the rest of the interview. Everything went out the window. Let's talk about the projects, because if you've got passion for it and you can really communicate that through, and your enthusiasm for things around the topic and things you do when you've got free time that benefit you, I think that's a real selling point. What makes you what makes you a good fit for the team.
That's brilliant. I love that. So everyone needs what makes me stand out from the crowd, and everyone has something, definitely, don't they? Everyone. So I think we've come to the close of the Q&As now. So I think we've got Anna Morrison on now. We're due to finish at 12:15. So we've got 5 more minutes, and Anna's just going to do a closing. I've just had a note from Anna. Are you there, Anna?
I am here.
Oh,
Hi.
you are there. I wasn't sure who stepped away. Perfect. Okay, so over to you, Anna.
Sorry, I was a bit keen when I came on earlier. So good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, can I just thank all of our brilliant speakers today. We have heard from such experts, and particularly our apprentices, Marcus, Simon and Chloe, who have shared brilliant insight with us and such unique perspectives as well. I think it can be really hard sometimes when you're a young person or a parent and you're trying to navigate apprenticeships. So to hear all of those different stories, I think is extremely helpful. And of course, to hear from two award-winning employers as well. So with MBDA and iSales, you know, both offering very different but very brilliant apprenticeship programs. I think the biggest takeaway from today is probably, and I think everyone will have realised it, that there is no one straight path into apprenticeships. There are lots and lots of different ways that you might find apprenticeships. It could be that you go through a platform like Hop into and you discover the vacancies on there. It could be that you go on to find an apprenticeship, as Lisa showed on the screen, and find an apprenticeship is a brilliant place to search for different apprenticeship opportunities as well, but it's not all of them. And this is one of our challenges, I think, with apprenticeships, where it's very different to university and applying to university. You do have to stick with it. You have to be quite patient and you have to be very curious. You need to click on everything, even if you're not quite sure what that job title might be, or if you've never heard of that employer before. It's really worth taking the time to try and just spend some time learning about it, and you'll soon get a feel for what's out there. The other thing is that obviously apprenticeships are advertised at all different times throughout the year. And as Caroline said, there is a huge campaign in Hertfordshire at the moment to try and get more businesses offering more opportunities for individuals. And that includes apprenticeship jobs, but it also includes asking them to think about things like work experience. And I think it was Marcus or possibly Simon who was saying about the importance of work experience to get into an apprenticeship. And I can tell you the last apprentice that we employed in my business in Amazing Apprenticeships came to us and she said, "Can I do 6 weeks work experience with you in the summer? You don't even have to pay me," but we did. But, you know, she was really brilliant, really up for it, just showed how committed and ambitious she was. She reached out to me, sent me an email personally, and I thought, right, there's something about this individual that I really like. Let's get her in, let's give her some work experience. And we ended up employing her as an apprentice. So, you know, that's not going to be the only way that you can find apprenticeships. I just think it shows the variety. Of course, there will be some companies that offer really big recruitment programs, and there will be thousands of applicants, and they will have stages of their recruitment process that you will have to get through, and they will only have a limited number of vacancies at the end of it. So, you know, there will be those extremes right through to possibly it being through a work experience opportunity, or even someone that you know deciding that they want to create an apprenticeship opportunity. So it's really important, if you're looking at it, tell your family, your friends, your neighbours, your cousins, your teachers, anyone you can think of, because you never quite know where those opportunities are going to come along from. So next steps, today's webinar is being recorded. It's going to be hosted on the Hop Into website. So hopinto.co.uk, it's the first one on the top there. This website is fantastic because there is so much information on there. But one of the best things I think about this website is when you go onto the apprenticeship vacancies section. It's got a really clever piece of technology behind the scenes that pulls in all of the apprenticeship vacancies that are on all of the different job sites. So it's a really great place to go and have a look, and you can search in all different ways. You can put your postcode in and you can see what's close to you, or you can kind of expand that search a little bit as well. That's where the recording is going to be. There's also all sorts of links to further information on that website. So again, just take a bit of time, click around, explore it, read some of the brilliant case studies that are on there, find out about the training providers that we've got in Hertfordshire, click on the employer profiles as well. All sorts of bits of like spotlight information that you can go in and explore apprenticeships in Hertfordshire. So that's it from me. I think we'll wrap up. You all know where you need to go, hopinto.co.uk. Thank you again to our wonderful speakers today, and I hope you all have a really fantastic rest of the week. So here's to what a great start to National Apprenticeship Week 2021. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.